What is up, everybody? I thought nobody was joining there for a second. Everyone waited till the last minute to say what's up. Got JMZ, Large Marge, J Dandy, Summit Perry, Broadford, Micah, JB5, Patrick, Roger. What's up? Oh, yeah. What's up, Roger? Roger actually sent me his pamphlet. Is that kind of no autofocus tonight? Been having autofocus issues. Oh, there it goes. From the Bicycle Museum. We'll talk about that and check that out maybe on Thursday. Hey, what's up, Rick? So I did see that people were posting drink photos. I've got a Insane Wanderer from Columbus Brewing. Let's see, where was I on that? Saw Rusty was posting he was having mid-ride beers at a brewery. Which one? Simple Machine Brewing. Nice. JB5 had Juice in the Trunk, Thick and Juicy, Resurgent Brewing. Pudgy's got, is Disco Dancer a platform beer? And then a hard cider that's gluten-free. Rick will like that. JMZ with a gumball head. That's a classic. I love that beer. Oh, J Dandy has a North Water. I didn't know they were canning. Or is that a Crowler? Because I've been to North Water twice now. Every beer I've had there has been good. Over in Kent. It's a perfect stop right off the bike path. We actually tried to go there on Saturday, was that? Saturday or Friday, but the patio was fully packed. There was a food truck and we were trying to get dinner, but yeah, there was no room. What is Roger drinking? Mellow Corn, Straight Corn Whiskey, Kentucky Straight Corn Whiskey. And Patty's got a Belching Beaver is the brewery. Was this like a collab with the band The Deftones, Phantom Bride? Do you listen to the Deftones?
I never got into it.
Nah, yeah, I'm not very familiar with their music. And then Large Marge has a Modest Brewing. What does that say? A fruited Berliner. Modest has become one of my favorite breweries lately. Pick them up at Bottles 101 in Kent. So, Pudgy was saying the other one's a hazy. Hey, what's up, William? William jumped in. Dylan's here. What's up, Dylan? Oh, Dandy was saying that was a Crowler from the brewery. That makes sense. Patrick said from San Diego. Nice. Anyways, gonna try and jump right in and keep the intro brief for a change. Micah has early mornings. How early do you get up to start your mornings?
Like
5 o'clock. So, yeah. Anyways, Micah's a friend now I've known for, I actually would have no guess on how long. 10 years?
Yeah.
I don't know. 10 years. He taught with my friend Greg at Hoban High School, a local high school, private high school around here. And then I started going to, probably because of Greg, some of your art things, art shows, stuff like that. And then once he got into cycling, it was just a little bit after I started getting really back into cycling. And then we started riding together a lot. And with the whole having the bike shop and always meeting up, we just got, way closer, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is Micah. He is
Cheers, everybody.
He directs the art department at Hoban. He's an art teacher, but he's also an artist. And I would say it's a side hustle, but the way he does it, it's also a complete other full-time hustle.
It's just a hustle.
Yeah, just a hustle. This is one of his shirts here. I've showed his work. If any of you have the Fitzwater Photography hand screen printed musettes or t-shirts, Micah made those. I think I pulled up. Should drop your website in here. So Micah does what? Graphic design, photography, screen printing. No, I don't have the website pulled up. There we go. A combination of both of them.
Yeah.
And then alternative process stuff, I would call it, right? So.
Yeah, the things I like to do, kind of two main tracks artistically. One is kind of, to put it crudely, money in, one's money out. And so the fine art stuff, like what's on the screen now, would typically be the money out things. The gallery shows and bodies of work that express maybe personal ideas. And then a lot of the graphic design work, which I truly love, the challenge of doing, tends to be something that, is more of a money maker. So, and also super cool to be able to see people wearing those shirts or buying those things and making them part of their lives. So yeah, it's cool to have both. I like both practices.
Yeah, the one we were looking at first, was interesting because, well, here's another version.
Yeah, you helped me with this one.
Yeah, these are actually, you basically use the stenciling process to put gunpowder on paper.
Yeah, they're all screen printed. It's just glue that was screen printed down onto the paper, and then a smokeless gunpowder, which the pieces on the right-hand side, actually on both sides, right and left, have unignited gunpowder. And then the strip in the middle, those 6 pieces have been lit on fire, and so burn the paper.
So Micah had me over to try and make a cool video of like the fire process, and so we thought it looked cool straight down. We thought I was
sacrifice of your eyebrows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We thought I was high enough up, but that turned out not quite to be the case, and I definitely did have smelled some burning facial hair and stuff like that. So.
Maybe lost a UV coating on your lens.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, so this is I think the last show I saw of yours, but have you done another one?
That was my last one-person show up at Kink in Cleveland at 78th Street Studios back in October, and but I've had work in a couple of group shows and juried shows since then.
So. Pudgy said he called you new media.
yeah, new media basically. Yep, things that are categoryless so far.
And Rick said he thought art was illegal in Akron.
Probably, yeah. Well, there's no accounting for taste. So that's...
What's up, Obsolescence? I just saw your brother on my way in here for my bike ride. I was out riding. I saw Micah out on the road earlier.
Yep.
I saw EJ. Do you know EJ? AJ Bocan? At least you probably know him from the leaderboards of Strava.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rode with him for a little bit. Saw Zach. I can't remember what Zach uses as his YouTube name right now. And a couple other people. So it was
cool, yeah.
just that Akron thing where it went around. Large Marge, Otis, everybody. But
it's a good day for it.
So the one thing we were going to talk about, and that's what the title and everything is Micah went and did the Fool's Loop in Arizona. Did you guys fly into Phoenix?
We did, yeah.
Flew into Phoenix. So it was our friend Albert who owns Akron Coffee and Asterisk Coffee Bar in town. High school buddy of mine. It was his 40th birthday. Me and Large Marge were invited too, but there was just between work, not being vaccinated yet, just a number of things, and then Rusty, did Rusty pop in yet? I can't remember if I thought I showed a picture of his drink at least, but telling me that do not do the Fool's Loop on 42 millimeter tires.
And I can confirm that would not be a good idea.
Yeah. So it didn't end up going, and so it just ended up being you and AJ, Albert. Yeah. So I guess we could start off by pulling up your photos, right?
Sure.
Because that would make sense.
Yeah, and so like you said, about a year ago, Albert's wife Chrissy reached out to the group of, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 people. It was just like Albert tried to do this loop a couple of years ago in February or January, and he had a mechanical derailleur issue, wasn't able to complete it, and he wants to do it again, but he wants to do it with some buds. So she had reached out to everyone, and that was right at the start of this COVID loveliness, and so everybody was kind of like, yeah, it'd be great, especially if we're actually able to travel at that point.
Which back then it seemed feasible.
Totally, yeah. So as the year went on, it was definitely a big question mark, but I kept using April, Easter time as like a target of, okay, let's hope by then we can get out of the state and go do something fun. So I was really anxious leading up to it for a lot of the reasons you and I talked about. I'd never bike packed before, never flown with a bike, hadn't traveled in a year, was scared of dying of COVID, all the small things. And but then about 2 days before we left, it was just like a surge of excitement because I was so excited to travel, and that pretty much carried through.
I think that was one of the things for me when I was starting to talk to Ben, and I like initially was like, no, I can't do it, all these reasons. But then I thought of like a trip this cool, and it started to well up inside me, and I'm like thinking of the footage and my cameras, and I'm like, oh, I should. Then I'm like, no, like I'm not seeing my parents. Like I can't get on an airplane and then
Right,
still
exactly.
justify that. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of parents, hi mom and dad. I see.
Yeah.
See you in the chat.
Yeah, I saw that Ben pointed that out. Large Marge on the internet. So, anyways, yeah. So I was looking had up here your
Cool.
how you packed your bike. So you rented this bag from Dirty River, right?
Yes. So Dirty River bought 2 bags with a couple of our buddies, kind of as co-owners of them, and then with the idea that they'll store the bike bags at the shop and then rent them out to people when the 2 guys that own them or co-op them aren't using them. So right, it's a Evoque bag made specifically for mountain bikes and plus bikes, and I can say it's a soft side bag, and it's pretty lightweight. Has really nice wheels on it, or did.
We'll get to that. Yeah. We'll get to
And really, really easy to pack the bike in there.
Obsolescence is asking, did you fly it? And that is what you guys did.
We
right?
did fly, yeah. So we did Frontier. It was like $75 each way per bike.
For the bike. That's not bad at
No.
all.
Especially
Compared
when
to
you
what
can,
a bike rental would be.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's your bike and your
Yeah.
gear. And there was so much space in this bag. I mean, I was able to pack it out. That's up to 99 pounds too.
Oh, okay.
So I had
So you could put whatever else you want in there.
I had everything jammed in that bike bag, and it was 80 pounds when I checked it. Maybe 85.
Dylan was complimenting the bike bag idea. And so on the flip side of a bike bag,
There's also the bike box.
yeah, there also is the bike box.
So, I mean, Albert and I get along really well because our personalities are very different in many ways, but we both are pretty calm in, dire situations, as we found out. But one of the things that we were different in was leading up to the day of departure. I like to be at the airport really, really early, like obscenely early,
That's how
because
I am,
I
yeah.
get really stressed out if I'm rushing and there's lines and all of those unknowns. I'm like, I'd rather just waste a morning.
Yeah.
So I had texted him, I'm like, I'm probably going to be there 2.5 hours early.
I look
It's
at it as
cool.
I'm already on vacation.
Right.
I'll bring a
Soon
book,
as
I'll
you're
bring a
there,
newspaper.
You're done.
Yeah.
Go to the bar, have a beer,
Yeah.
relax. So sure enough, I did that. And of course, it took like 10 minutes to get from the check-in counter to the gate. So our flight was at about 11:25. And around 9:30, Albert texted to see what the airport was like. I'm like, yeah, it's calm. He's like, good, because I'm still at the coffee shop. So long story short, he basically sprinted down the concourse to get to the gate before the doors closed, and still had time to grab a tequila from Sandy Hagar's bar before he jumped on the plane. But yes, he used an actual bike shipping box, and you know what? His bike showed up fine, and with a little duct tape strap, he was able to transport it.
Yeah, so that's duct tape right there. So flight went good. You get off the bike's rebuilding process. Where did you just do it outside the airport?
We did it right inside we went as far as we could in the airport before we had to go outside, and we did it inside because it was already pretty hot out. So as we were putting the bikes together, it was a little stressful. Again, I'm not a bike mechanic, and I have never reassembled my bike from that level of disassembly, which wasn't much.
Was it
but
forks and bars?
Actually, all that was was installed. The bars were off, wheels were off. Everything else was still on.
Okay, so wheels
It was
are
really easy.
Yeah.
But in my head, I was a little tweaked because I was just like, I'm putting this together and I will be riding the thing I put back together on violent territory. So this is on me. But as I was a little stressed, there was a husband and wife arguing about their children as their kids were crying. And that had a real way of calming me down and just enjoying my moment. So yeah, we put them together there, and then once we maybe took 45 minutes, and then we popped outside and had to figure out. We had rented a U-Haul storage space to store the bike boxes in,
I wouldn't even have thought about that. Yeah.
and then had an Airbnb lined up. So it was about 4 miles from the airport to the U-Haul. And so that was the next challenge to figure out. So the Evoque has really good wheels on it. Sturdy, long-lasting wheels. And
That's the way back, though, right?
well, that was on the way there, too. We
rolled that.
did it to and fro. Yeah.
So 4 miles of... I don't think we have a picture of this, right?
No, we don't. That wasn't quite comfortable on the bike yet to shoot while riding.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, they had 4 miles to go with the boxes. So Albert's is strapped over.
Like a guitar of sorts.
And yours is a golf cart.
Mine's a golf cart. And we're on highway access roads. And I got to say, from that moment until we left, people in Phoenix are very nice. There was a guy that just kind of trailed behind us and stayed behind us for a couple miles, very slowly, making traffic go around us. On the way back, a police motorcyclist flipped on his lights and gave us a short escort
Really?
towards the airport. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
So the story you told me about the bike box, is that on the way to the U-Haul?
Yes, on the way to
worth
the U-Haul. Yeah.
telling, so.
I mean, I felt like such a giraffe. I'm on this overloaded bike, which Salsa Fargo, 2018 model, feels so good loaded down. It actually like comes alive when it's loaded down, which was reassuring. But still, the front end is a little wonky, and I'm trying to get used to it. And I'm holding onto this bike bag that is rolling behind me. So I was super unsure of myself. Albert was a little bit ahead with his guitar box, and his duct tape strap broke. And so his bike falls out, his box falls off behind him, and I don't have time to react. And so my bike gets taken out by his box sliding across the road. And so, I mean, we're like a mile into our ride at this point. So my bike flips onto his box and slides, and somehow I decleated and like hopped off and ran into the median and never lost my footing. And so Albert, in classic fashion, just turns around and is like, "Good job." Nice.
Yeah.
Ripped out some more duct tape, fixed his box, and we took off again. Pretty smooth after that.
So just saying you unclipped, Large Mart had asked if you only brought clipless. Did he just have his clipless shoes?
Yeah. I did bring some like flip-flops. But yeah, I was clipped in the whole time.
And then I saw Brent from All Around Cyclery on Hudson Common, and he said that those bike boxes work are they called e-box? Is that
Yep.
what you said? Yeah. Work really well, but regular bike boxes work really well too. But I would say they do, as long as if you don't have to carry them 4 miles with that duct tape strap.
A little heavy at that point.
Yeah. So
And I think probably a Prius Uber would have worked great as well.
Yeah. Uber Black. This would have been the time to take
Shove them both
advantage.
in there.
Yeah.
Put them together at the U-Haul.
Nice.
So different strokes.
Yeah.
And we got away with no cars except for like 2 really important moments when we needed cars a few days later.
Oh, Ben mentioned AJ the photo of him in clipless shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, I don't have it up. I gotta remember these things.
Classic.
Yeah. And aren't those like 2010 road shoes or something?
I asked him, I was like, "Those are cool, man. Where'd you get those?" He's like, "Actually, I was just thinking I probably need to get new ones." 'Cause, yeah, I think they're from a while ago.
I think they're like the Marco Pantani model or something.
But I mean, for all of you that know Albert, the equipment really does not matter.
No, it
He's
doesn't.
just a monster and is truly an inspiring guy to ride with.
Rick asked how much duct tape should one travel with.
Well, Albert traveled with like maybe a fifth of a roll. That
Okay.
seemed to be the perfect amount.
That's got you through.
Yeah.
So we got a lot. We're all pretty big gear nerds here, so I think it'd be worth going through.
Cool.
We already mentioned it's a Salsa Fargo, and some say Fago.
Fago.
But
Yeah. Like the pop.
is there?
Yeah, if you.
I guess maybe
There's a
that's
good
Albert's.
one.
We'll show his.
I think
this
down
one?
at the bottom of the album.
Like a nice close up.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's the 2018 model sold standard with the 27.5s, and so it's got big, beefy 3-inch tires on it. the Teravail Coronados. And
I love those with the big tires.
It looks so good. Yeah. And man, those things grip like crazy. They are so squishy, and to me, they transform the bike. I just love riding with those tires. It's my second set of them on there. So yeah, it's got the Plus tires on it, and then in terms of bags and stuff, well, I'm running a 1x on it with
Devil's drivetrain.
Yeah, the Devil's Drivetrain.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said to Kenny one night, if God had wanted bikes to have one chain ring, he would have made them that way. And Kenny said, "Oh, so I'm running the Devil's Drivetrain." so now we even have an emoji for the Devil's.
Oh my God.
But
and it's a 32T chain ring, so nice small chain ring, 11 speed with a big climbing gear on it. And then bag wise, Salsa makes a bag specifically for that frame size. And
so model. that's the Salsa branded frame bag. That's nice. No wonder it fits so perfectly.
Because it's an unusually shaped frame,
yeah.
You know, and so it could be really inefficient otherwise. And there's just a micron of clearance from the bottom of that chain bag or that frame bag to the chain ring. So you kind of got to be careful about packing it out. I had originally hoped to put my Nalgene's in the center storage area, but it just puffed out a little too much, and the pedal would hit as I clicked through. But I could fit all my food, clothing, camp stove and stuff all in that frame bag. Plus, on the other side, the phone and charger and stuff.
So a couple top tube bags.
Couple top tube bags from Rogue Panda and Rockgeist, which those are really helpful to have. Ortlieb tail pack, and then the anything cradle and anything, I forget what the fork tube ones are called.
Oh, yeah.
Anything holders, anything bags, whatever.
JMZ, those were 3-inch tires, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think that covers the setup, right?
Yeah. Pretty minimal in terms of I didn't do a sleeping bag, I did a sleeping quilt.
I've heard people,
which was nice and small, and I figured it'd be warm enough.
How cold were the nights? I have no idea.
It got down to 60, maybe high 50s. Yeah, it was very comfortable.
Yeah, I've been following a couple of the guys who live in Arizona, which they're talking about how they're getting into the season where it's too hot to ride.
Oh, yeah.
During the day, but I also know all those stories of the desert being freezing
Drops.
at night. Yeah,
but it was. I mean, you figure it was a 40-degree shift in temperature from the high of the day to the low of the night. So
So what were your highs?
So I think the meteorologist air temp was 97 at the highs. My GPS was reading 115 at times when we were way out in the backcountry. And at first I dismissed that as it's like a bank thermometer, right? It's just getting all the sun. And I was like, well, wait, so are we. we're also just sitting in the sun.
In the sun. Yeah.
I think maybe that's accurate.
So Albert's bike was the All-City, this is the latest Gorilla Monsoon, right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And I didn't get to see his setup because he was still discussing it when we were leaving, but that looks like that's the Swift Industries sugar loaf or mother loaf in the basket.
Yep.
And he has more stuff tied down to the top.
Yeah, he's got his tent on top, a big Agnes tent.
Okay.
I don't know what's in front. That's another storage stash bag or something. Maybe his pillow or something. He also has the Ortlieb tail bag, and then I had loaned him a frame bag. Unfortunately, on the first day, the zipper just totally gave out, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
So I have to reach out to them. So fortunately, he had some straps and stuff. You could strap the thing together.
That's a big tip to me. Even on cyclotouring, I carry extra bungees.
Got to.
They've saved me in different ways I would never expect. I had a basket actually go out. The nuts broke.
Oh, wow.
And just using the bungee, the metal part of the bungee, and twisting it around.
Wow.
Just to keep that from, So
what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then he's got, I think, 2.5-inch tires, Wranglers or the WTB, whatever standard on the Gorilla Monsoon. And those are 27.5s as well. And that seemed to be enough. He felt really confident and comfortable on that.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little on the stream before for people who've been around, but Albert attempted this on his what it was, the cross check, right? Mm-hmm. On a surly cross check on 38s.
Yeah.
Or did he have 40? No, I think he had 30.
It's 38s or 40s. They weren't big.
Weren't big, and he ended up. But that wasn't even his downfall, right? His jacket blew off his.
He was, I think the first day he was riding, or second day he was riding through Brown's Ranch, and which is really, truly sweet, kind of, for locals, Hampton Hills quality flow. Just really simple flowing trail, beautiful sand. And it was starting to get hot, so he took his jacket off and went to stash it in his pannier. And that's the other thing, he was running side back panniers on his bike.
Yeah, and that was a big deal this time. He said he didn't want panniers because they would brush stuff on the side.
Very narrow trail for a lot of it. Yeah. And so he went to stuff it in his bag, and it kind of blew out of his bag down into his drivetrain and fried his derailleur.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I do think that... I think some of that road later on would have absolutely eaten that bike alive, no matter his technical skill.
Oh, yeah.
It just was too much for it.
Rusty said the Fargo is literally the best biking pack bike on earth, and they're arguing about that. But then Rusty said the north side of Horseshoe Lake is always hot as balls.
Okay, well, that was our experience too. We did scramble, Rusty, we scrambled down the rocks to break the rules and go wade into the water. There's like strict signs that say no wading, no swimming, because it's a dam, so it's really confusing current. But it was so hot. It was just like, you got to get in that water right now. So
Brent said he couldn't imagine doing on a gravel bike, and he does a lot of dumb stuff on his. And that's what I thought. Like the guys in Arizona, like Rusty, when they were telling me don't do it on your TAM land on 42s, like absolutely not.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do. I started riding gravel on my Peugeot. Like,
right, exactly.
I thought putting 32s on made that my gravel bike. And then I got shown all the cool, like what we call the industrial gravel now, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it. But now I'm to the point like, yeah, I can, but why?
But why?
Yeah, and that's probably what. And this sounds like it was more than a. But why? It sounds like it's not possible, right?
Yeah. Here's what my take on it was, because I thought about that conversation a couple of times when we were on some of the rougher road. It's just that, and Brent, who recently did this ride, is all-around cycler?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he has vivid memories of the one major downhill before you get to Horseshoe. It just wants to disassemble your bike. It's like a mix of embedded stone and hard-packed ground with washboard mixed in. So like at one point on that, and you've just worked for a couple of miles to climb, so you're like, oh, downhill, awesome, let's tuck. But immediately, everything on your bike is just like...
Oh, yeah.
And you're kind of weaving in the road to dodge all the major stuff. And in the meantime, you're kind of like surfing through this washboard. That's where the Fargo is phenomenal.
3 inches
just soaked
tires
it up.
Probably.
But a minivan had passed us at one point going down that hill. And about a quarter of a mile later, we just blew by them because the minivan was getting shaken to bits.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it not only would have been really rough on your body, but any piece of gear that was strapped to that bike would have been really abusive on its rims and all of its equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would need it. So how did I have Albert's picture up here right now? Did that basket? I could tell those are sturdier than your typical.
Yeah.
Bike.
Held up.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, held up. I don't think you had any problems with those support posts. This is actually before we get off this photo. We took a little side journey on the first day to go up to Frank Lloyd Wright's compound.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Why am I blanking on what it's called?
Falling water.
Yep. Yeah, I wish there was water. That's falling arid desert.
Yeah. Falling sand.
Yeah. But it was just a couple of miles off the path, and we're like, you know what? We're feeling fresh. Let's go do it while we feel good. So yeah, we didn't take the tour or anything, but we got up there. Taliesin West. Yeah.
Rusty said the road used to be worse. They created it and got rid of a ton of sand.
Cheers.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Pixel Wolf? Pixel Wolf is in here. He's just he's building up a cross check as kind of his first gravel bike packing bike himself. So
Pudgy with the YMJ.
Definitely would have needed a rim job after the wash. This is how this goes. I try to stay focused.
I know. Well, seeing my chamois, nobody wanted a rim job.
Yeah. Oh, so this is what you're talking, the house.
Yeah.
Is this part of that too?
Mm-hmm. It's like 5,000 acres.
Oh,
of
really?
land that he has.
Oh.
And,
He's still alive?
nope.
Oh, yeah.
That he had.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just for a moment, I was like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe I'm totally...
Is
Yeah.
it still kicking?
Yeah.
So this was like the manna from heaven moment. The first day, AJ had said maybe we just skip the Phoenix part of this and get a car service up to Brown's Ranch. I was like, I don't know, man. I know you've done this before, and it's probably going to be a little tedious, but I really don't want to miss out on leaving from Phoenix on the bike and seeing the landscape change. It's like, okay. So sure enough, the first part of the day was pretty darn hot because it was all asphalt. You go through Scottsdale, go north of Scottsdale.
So just like the suburbs,
Suburbs.
bedroom communities and stuff.
Yeah, and then for a long stretch, you're on kind of a dried riverbed. In fact, if my dad's still in the chat, I was thinking about when my dad and I took our first motorcycle trip. We rode out to California, and I'd never been on the highway before. So we get on Route 90, and we had these helmet communicators. So we're like 5 miles into Route 90, and the wind is just whipping my bike around, and I'm like overwhelmed by the speed of it. I'm like, Dad, is this what riding on the highway is like? He's like, yeah, pretty much. And we had like 3,500 more miles to go.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much what it felt like when we got onto this dried riverbed. It was just like a landscaping truck had just dumped all of its boulders out. And we're just like, bah, 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 2 miles an hour. Like, okay, I think we're into the ride. But then 100 yards to our left were all these like McMansions and a paved trail. But the Fool's Loop Trail specifically had chosen this route. So we were faithful to it. So we rode through all that heat and a lot of paved roads, and we got to Brown's Ranch, which was this awesome trailhead, beautifully designed to like catch the cross breeze, big cement slabs that you could just lay on, lots of fresh cold water, nice bathrooms. And so we just chilled there for probably an hour and recouped a little.
So how far had you gone to get here?
That was about 50 miles.
Oh, so we'd been
going all day. And then we knew we were going to go into Brown's Ranch trails for a few miles and find somewhere to pitch a tent off trail. So we loaded up all our water bottles again so we'd have plenty and zipped out and rode through those trails a little bit for another hour or so. Past Cathedral, for people that know the trail, Cathedral Rock is like a rock formation that's kind of popular out there. Went a little further and then walked the bikes off the trail to find a spot, which I don't think you're really supposed to camp there, but
you're far enough out that.
Yeah.
Someone asked about, were you using a hammock with your?
Nope. I had a tent, sleeping quilt, and then a sleeping pad, but unfortunately my sleeping pad had a puncture at some point, so it did not act as a pad.
We talked about that in the Discord a lot about that. I was like, I need to get a sleeping pad, and someone recommended one. They're like, it's a little pricey, and I'm like, I think I'm going to get the pricey one. That's one thing that I'm like, the tent, sleeping bag, to save the weight and the space, I've spent a lot of money on, more than I've spent on most of my bikes. And I'm like,
Right.
I think I might as well do that with the sleeping pad too. Cause
Heck yeah.
You hear a lot of bad stories about,
Yeah, and it's hard to sleep. You know, I always find it hard to sleep when I'm camping.
Yeah, me too.
You're so too keyed up from the day. You're paying attention to every pedal stroke and move of the handlebars. And then all of a sudden you're like, and now we sleep.
Yeah.
And then it's rustling out there. In fact, you'd find this funny. I had a hand stick for my GoPro, and I had unloaded my whole bike and brought everything into my tent. But the stick, I was like, I'll just drape that on my handlebars. Got up the next morning, and I had heard a lot of scurrying about that night. And I had my ground cover is like a piece of Tyvek, so it's really loud if there's anything around it. So I go out to my bike in the morning, and there's the little elastic cord with 2 frayed ends. Some critter stole the stick.
Really?
So there's some Gila monster out there doing
Taking selfies.
vlogging or whatever. Yeah. Who stole the GoPro stick? Oh well.
Yeah. Wow. Brent said that puncture was his biggest fear, so he ended up going foam.
That's smart.
The reason to go non-foam, right, is size, right?
Yeah, mine packed down really small,
Yeah.
but it also had no padding, so touche. Yeah, it's wise.
Yeah. That's one thing I've been considering, and it's like I like the small, compact thing, but yeah.
Pretty much on all the bike packing website photos of people's gear, you see them with the egg crate style,
Yeah.
stacked up and packed away. I get it.
Makes sense now that you've done this. Yeah, and I do mostly so far it's been cyclotouring, not very gnarly stuff, so I guess the blow up thing doesn't sound that crazy to me, but
Right.
if I get into doing more like this, maybe that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So is this day 2 here out on the? So were you pretty
Yeah.
beat already after day 1?
Day one, I felt it, but it felt really good at the end of the day. It was hot, really hot on that first day, high 90s, and it was a lot of pavement. There was one point where we popped off some trail back onto the road, and the heat off of the road just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I just felt zapped. So we found a couple of shady spots and just took our time. But once we got to Brown's Ranch, it was really cool. It was one of those euphoric biking moments where I went from sheer exhaustion to we're riding on this gorgeous packed sand and flowing through it. And I just got that surge of gratitude.
Yeah.
And it was just like, we are so lucky. You know? Oh my God, here we are. And I just soaked up those couple of miles of zipping through those trails. So I felt good going to bed that night and waking up the next day.
Ben asked how much milk Albert brought.
It was all, bone broth, actually. Just dehydrated bone broth.
And then Pixel Wolf said, that's awesome. Animals doing human things, stealing selfie sticks. Next they'll be riding and vibing on little bicycles.
I wouldn't have minded seeing that, actually.
Pixel Wolf's the one who did the logo with the bike and the beer.
Oh, cool.
bar, so.
That's awesome, man. Nice work.
Yeah.
That's great.
So here's this is day 2 with Albert out
Day
here.
2 with Albert. So yeah, nice long ride through Brown's Ranch and a lot more of that flowy ride. We actually woke up once we had breakfast and stuff. We rode back to the trailhead a few miles, reloaded on water, brushed teeth, took advantage of a nice bathroom, and then took off from there. So we backtracked a little and then went.
Were you guys doing the hot water food thing where you were boiling water on a little camp stove, pouring it into camp food and all that? Yeah, see, with the touring we've always done, we've never had to carry a bunch of food.
Okay.
Maybe we'll grab stuff late in the evening for breakfast, but we've never been more than 15 miles from a stop. So this is totally interesting and new to me. I watch videos about this stuff, but I haven't done it.
So we had pretty much for dinners, we had the dehydrated camp meals that you'd pour hot water into. Breakfast, I think we'd both packed maybe oatmeal. And I had oatmeal and then some nuts and raisins just to kind of beef it up a little bit. And then lunch, it was hard to eat, honestly, midday, but
the heat and all that?
yeah, and just, I don't know. I just wasn't in the mindset of being hungry. But we had meat bars, those epic meat bars and snack bars and stuff. But yeah, I think we each had 5 days worth of food packed away.
Oh,
so there's
nice.
quite a bit of food in there.
So you were carrying, yeah.
And then maybe 5 liters of water per person.
Yeah.
So the bike was heavy, but again, the Fargo, the more weight I put on that thing, the more planted it was. And maybe other people in the feed have this experience, but when the Fargo is unladen and it's just you on the bike, I feel like all my downstrokes on the pedals, the torque goes to the wrong places. And then all of a sudden when I loaded the thing down, it just shot the torque to the back wheel. And for whatever reason, it worked the geometry of the bike out, which was good,
Yeah.
So yeah, we were able to do a refill on water, which was great, and kind of get our fill that morning. And then we zipped out. And that was, the second day was a hard day. It got really hot and we had a long, long climb.
How many miles did you have scheduled in your mind? Or were you
45.
Okay.
Which is about where we wound up. Brent actually had given me good advice that you want to try to do 35 to 40 miles a day. But Brent, being the BA guy that he is, I think you guys had made it all the way to Horseshoe Dam on night one. So they put in more like 70 miles on the first day.
Oh, really?
And we put in like 53, 55. So yeah, that set us back a little bit. But the second day we hit Horseshoe Dam, and then we went to the Verdi River and Sheep's Bridge, and that was Easter Sunday. So it was pretty kind of busy on the roads. Mm-hmm. A lot of bikers in Browns Ranch were out screwing around, which is cool. And then on the fire roads that we were on, there was a lot of trucks out there with like pull-along campers that were coming out from camping all weekend. And boy, there was one spot that we hit. We'd gone through just all this like really tough landscape and got to kind of a flat area that we were riding. But I looked ahead and it was like someone had taken a big bucket of baby powder and just dumped it. It was this soft, loamy silt. And these trucks were just laboring through it, just kicking up this huge like limestone dust. And the thought that went through my mind was like, what new hell is this? Like, so fortunately, as we approached that, there's a little bypass trail for bikes. And so we were able to skip right around the trucks these were like off-road trucks. They were up to their axles in this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And pretty stuck. So we were able to skip around them and get through it. I saw a question about mechanicals from Rick. No mechanicals.
It's amazing. I was asking you about that. You said the Fargo, no problems.
Zero problems.
But even the Grill Monsoon didn't have it.
Monsoon had no problems. Huh. The worst thing that happened was when we were pushing the bikes through the off trail to find camping, we looked down and I had gotten attacked by a jumping cactus right on my Achilles. It just like, bam, got me. And then we looked down at our tires and they were just covered in cacti. And so we took the Leatherman and just like one by one pulled all the needles out. And I saw a lot of sealant bubbling up. But thank God for tubeless.
Yeah, Patrick, who's I think farther north in Arizona, I know Ben and Pudgy always remember all the details that I can't remember. But he's been making YouTube videos of these cool desert scenes, but he's pointed out the ones that are like, these are the cactus you have to avoid.
Yeah, you know? They really do jump. I mean, the thing just attacked me. It was pretty wild. Rusty asked if we saw any critters. We saw what I think was a Gila monster. It was, and not doing fish stories here, but I think it was about 18 inches long. And the dude was just enjoying some sunshine. We disturbed him. And he just kind of slowly sauntered off. A couple of rattlesnakes on the first day. And then Albert saw a massive rattlesnake right on the trail after I had tapped out of the ride when he was on the Black Mountain Trail. But not too many other critters, roadrunners and stuff. But thank goodness no spiders.
Yeah, good.
Yes, the moon dust. The moon
that's
dust.
what it's called?
Yes, that stuff was wild. I didn't change tire pressure. No, I was just like in it to win it. So I just kept going.
What is this? Is this a rest spot or is this the second night camp spot?
That's Cathedral Rock.
Oh, that's Cathedral.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
so that
Cathedral
made sense.
Rock. Yeah. So yeah, this is all kind of night one, I think.
Oh, some just the wildflowers from like this. Do they consider it spring there? I don't even.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like hell. So
Yeah.
whatever hell season is.
This is so amazing. These views, though. Like,
yeah, that's from our campsite.
is this a rock?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
like
guess
a
I could make my
windswept
mouth
rock.
show up. Yeah. Wow, that's so cool.
Gorgeous.
That looks awesome. Black and white into the sun.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, when I was in Baja, Mexico, this is what a lot of the cactuses remind me of. Not those classic Texas ones, but this style. So the sunset from the second night.
This is still the first night, actually.
This is the first night. Okay,
this is
gotcha.
like you can see my little tent set up in the corner. Bad composition, but yeah. So that's Horseshoe Dam, and I've actually seen. You can see the gate on the dam is open.
Yeah.
People ride up on that. There's like federal no trespassing signs, and from my Mike Tyson trespassing experience, I'm a little wary on that.
Yeah.
But then if you look down...
Story for another stream. Yeah.
If you look down here, that is your actual passageway. So there's a wide enough trail under that dam that you ride your bike through that. and then pop up. We continued up and around, and then you could drop down to the water side again.
There was one question I wanted to do. Are these your iPhone photos, or are these with your?
So most of these are from this old camera that I use, which is a Panasonic GF1.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Circa 2008, I think.
Yeah.
Which is the perfect camera for this because it's mirrorless, it's small, I like its quality, and yet I cared not at all what happened to it.
Yeah.
And it's got this sweet little 20 millimeter lens on it. I did use a GoPro, so someone mentioned that. I just don't have any of those. I didn't do a lot of GoProing, probably 15-second shots, maybe
here and there.
30 of them. But so that's something that I will do more of next time we do this. But so yeah, you can see Albert had like a platypus bladder as well. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
when we'd fully load up, we had probably 10 or 11 liters between us. But it did have a way of really bogging the bikes down, especially his, because he didn't have the fork mounts.
Yeah. And the weight's way higher up there to really. They say to get it as low as possible.
And that's
so.
dynamic weight, it's just like really moving.
Industrial desert gravel.
Yeah, that's basically what it was.
They said Gila monsters. Is it Gila monsters that we said are black and orange?
Yep, I think that's what we saw.
And then some obscene jokes.
Oh God.
Oh, Pixel was asking because he's trying to learn to jump back into photography.
Cool.
And I actually told him this in a direct message that I was talking about, but I've talked about now where cameras are at. Like, if you're not using a different camera for a specific, like a cheaper camera for a specific like a telephoto, you have a telephoto lens for an older camera that's compact. Totally worth it. Or if your camera has like a zoom lens, I was saying, but instead of investing in like a really low end camera, buy the really expensive iPhone or Android.
Yeah.
Because they're so good now. I mean, and this is from someone who is filming on a camera that was $3,500 new for YouTube streaming and has another, But like what I do is I bring my Canon 6D because it's still a full frame 22 megapixel sensor, and I could put like a decent but small lens on it, so not huge. But again, like that's 3 generations ago for my cameras. But if I was doing something like this, that's the camera I would have taken. I'm not going to bring the camera that makes my living,
Exactly. Yeah. That was one thing I debated on. What do I bring camera wise? And I don't have a really new camera. I shoot mostly with my Fuji X-T1.
Yeah.
But it's heavy, and there's not enough payoff between it and the GF. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
This thing's good. I put it in my Fuzzy Stitchworks drink bag, and I tossed the GoPro in there. It rattled around against my stem the whole ride. The LCD screen is all scratched up. I don't care. And I never thought once about it, and that was enough, the peace of mind. The one thing I didn't have to be anal retentive about, and just focus on the ride. And still, I knew I'd be happy enough with the photos in the end. So,
and
that's one of those hard things, though, because you're not going to do the experience again. So you want the photos.
I always find that like a thing. Like a lot of people ask me after I go on a vacation, even if it's like, say, a more epic one, like they'll ask a lot about like, oh, the photos, and it's like I don't live there. Like,
right.
Like I've been to Paris. Like I'm not going to take the best like Paris photos.
Right.
Like the person who gets up every day and does that, like. You better not take better photos than I would in the Cuyahoga Valley because that's right down the street, But it's the same thing with this. It's like these photos are awesome. These are great to remember. You're not going to be printing these 20 by 30 for galleries because that's one, not what you do. And
right.
That's not what. Yeah, and you're not going to be the guy who can be at this spot
at sunrise at the right time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
these are memory photos.
Yeah.
Rick, I said asked about finding water. That was. Going into this trip, that was the one thing I was most honestly scared about. I'm pretty conservative about drinking water when riding, but I haven't done a lot of riding in 95 plus temperatures, especially like strenuous riding. And so the bikepacking site really marks out your water access points well, which is super helpful. But there's only maybe 1 or 2 spots on the trail where there are flowing like clean water. Every other place is a filter situation. So day 2, once you leave Brown's Ranch, if you happen to be there, you can leave with clean water. But then your next opportunity really is either Horseshoe Dam or Verde River, both of which are clean enough, but you need to filter them. So that was
they
an
were
easy
asking
day.
about the filtering, yeah.
So yeah, I had like one of the little bottles that's got a filter on the end, kind of like a life straw, and Albert had one. But then the third day, there was no new water on that ride. It's whatever you had with you, carrying all the way through to Cordes Junction, which is a tiny little town where then you could refill. But basically those 35 or 40 miles, zero water access. So that was disconcerting. Yeah.
This is what we're looking at here. It looks like a paved road that turns into dust. Is that just a...
So this is the downhill. After you do the long uphill, this is the downhill that then turns into that dirt road that is like the bike disassembly road.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple shots of that. What did Brent?
It's just kind of.
Brent says his bags are still covered in that dust.
Yep.
And then they're making fun of Rick about the filter. And Pudgy says, "Let's just find water to filter in the desert." and Brent's got
Fair
a dusty sack.
Oh man. So at one point, I think the photo will come up where, no, yeah, there's geeky me. We're on this road, and for those of you that are in the Akron area, I was trying to think leading up to tonight, like, how do I describe these roads? And the best I could do, and maybe Brent can give a better example, but I think it's kind of like old AP.
Okay.
It's that quality of road.
So they were more paved at one point, and they've...
Some of it was paved at one point, but in terms of like, you have to pick a line really well.
Oh,
and it's just broken. So imagine instead of it being former paved, it's just old rock embedded in the road. And so you're like, I mean, climbing the hills, I was going 3 miles an hour. So I had a lot of time to choose my line.
Yeah.
And even when you came upon a rock, you just kind of crawled up and over it. The descents were the scary part. And that's where you kind of have to like chase snakes down the road and just kind of skim back and forth looking for the cleanest line.
Oh.
Yeah.
I pressed the wrong button. All right, there we go. Back on track.
Yeah,
and that's got to be kind of exhausting.
It was mentally exhausting.
Because you can never stop.
You're kind of standing as you're descending because you don't want to be butt on the seat.
Even when we do what we call the east side tracks, like which is some of the industrial gravel, Pudgy just dropped the link to the meetup ride, but we're going to do all the gnarly industrial gravel around town. But as you said, like you could commute that way to where your studio is, but then you found out like for you it's like that part is like 3 miles, but it feels like 10 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And that I know that feeling, but I've never done it like obviously in the desert. But I know just how when we do like that east side tracks out to Hoppin' Frog, once we realized like the really gnarly section is only 6 miles, we're like, I thought that was like 20.
Yeah, right?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and you do. I mean, now the difference between doing it on the way to the bar and doing it when you're in the desert is that that's your day.
Yeah.
You're just settling in. You're like, this is what we're doing. This is my job today, is to deal with this road and enjoy it. Different than when you're like, let's get to the bar and have some fun and enjoy the ride, but, you know, it's the thing between the bar and us right now. We only saw other riders. Yeah, we only saw other riders at Browns Ranch. We didn't see any other riders on the course, on the route.
Oh, so they were in the background of that earlier picture. I saw there were some
Yeah.
riders out there.
Yeah, and that's basically, you can drive up and park there and then go rip through those mountain bike trails and then come back. This is all at Horseshoe Dam.
This is Horseshoe. That's where the water we were looking at. This is the looking up on the side, hillside. Then
Yeah,
there.
exactly. So on this one, I was waiting for this photo. This is a specifically rough downhill descent, probably like a 12% or maybe 15% grade descent. And there were quite a few trucks coming up this way, leaving their Easter vacation, old beat up Phoenix or Arizona trucks pulling RVs. And Albert and I just kind of simultaneously looked at each other and we were like, who would bring their truck out here? And then we just broke up laughing because we're like,
You're out there.
They're looking at us, and they're like,
Who
what
would ride their
idiot would
freaking
ride
bike?"
out here? Yeah. Perspective.
The worst part of this loop is the first 15 to 20 miles after the sheep bridge.
That was rough. Yep. That was rough.
So is this the view just kind of looking off from here?
Yep. Exactly. So this was our second night of camping after
Look at the
Sheep's
sunset.
Bridge.
Sunset.
Yeah, and that's Albert's tent setup. So we got there, and I was absolutely knocked flat at that point. We had loaded up all of our water reservoirs, wore backpacks full of water, and rode to this spot. And we get there, and, we're on the side of a mountain, so everything's slanted. We're looking for a flat spot. It doesn't exist. So then we're like, all right, let's just find a rockless spot. Well, that doesn't exist. So we end up camping right next to the road because that was just like gravel at least and not boulders. And now my sleeping pad is flat, and I'm like, I really need sleep tonight. I really need to sleep. So I just folded it up as much as I could so it was under my back. So we're crashed out, and it was a beautiful night, strong breeze. So I had my rain fly off, and I've got a little bivvy tent, so the wind was just kind of whipping through my screen, and it felt so good. I'm just like falling asleep, and I swear I hear a truck. I'm like, what? It's pitch black out, and I can't imagine anybody driving on these roads in the dark.
Yeah.
And that basically, that
Okay.
next photo is the road that we were sleeping next to.
Okay.
And so these are twisting mountain roads. You just can't imagine anyone being out there at night. Sure enough, this rancher truck pulls up and stops, and he's got a spotlight, and he's flashing it around. And I hear them say, like, oh, it's campers. Okay. So
Yeah.
they continue on. I'm like, all right, well, we're a little more vulnerable than I thought.
You boys ain't from around here.
Right,
are
exactly. They saw our Ohio license plates on our bikes. So I start to doze off again, and I hear another truck in the distance pulling up. I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding.
Oh.
So about the first hour and a half, 3 trucks came through. After that, it got pretty quiet again. But on those 2 nights of camping, I think I slept like 15-minute intervals. Woke up, flipped over, another 15 minutes, flip over. Just was not restful. Yeah. So before I do this again, I've got to figure something out to dial in a little bit of sleep.
Yeah.
And whether that's bringing like...
Have you tried drugs?
Sleep aids, I was going to say. Like, finding some sort of sleep aid.
Yeah.
We had flasks, but that didn't quite do the trick.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, did you guys, when you got to camp, did you usually like hang out and chat for a little while, or were you guys kind of like set up tent and crawl into bed?
Yeah, the sun set at 6, so by the time we got to camp, it was usually 5-ish, a little after 5. So it was kind of hustle to get the tents up, get all that done, get dinner started. Then we could just kind of chill. There wasn't a lot of talking. It was just kind of like recognition of the day.
Yeah.
And maybe a little talk about the next day. But we were in bed probably by 8 o'clock, which was nice.
I don't know. Rusty said story checks out. I'm not sure what. I'm sure I missed. Rick asked if you had an emergency beacon. And if they let vegans ride this trail.
Oh my gosh.
Or emergency bacon.
Oh, emergency bacon. I thought he was just going to ask if we had an emergency. And I was going to say, actually, I did have a trowel, and it was well used on the trip. It's nothing like just letting it happen in the woods or in the desert.
Yeah, Patrick said there's for sure people driving out on those roads. Creepy sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
You just definitely feel vulnerable.
Pudgy said tryptophan or tryptophan. Oh, tryptophan. That's like the stuff that people say makes you tired on Thanksgiving, but there's like a minuscule amount
in the
of
turkey. So packed turkey. Okay.
Yeah, turkey. Just lots of like drumsticks. Just drumsticks shoved in.
So it's going to be a run fest.
Yeah.
The big turkey leg. So this is the start of day 3. And I woke up day 3 feeling pretty crappy. And it took a little bit of like mental exercise just to be patient and let the body shake out. By the time we were loaded up and ready to go, I felt good. I felt like I was ready to do it. But that ended up being, it was my last day on the ride and my by far hardest day. The temp started out at like 60, which was amazing, and it was overcast, as you can see in the photo. Strong wind, which felt great. We had met a guy on the ride the night before, named Chris, who looked like Dan Rice. And he also had a lot of...
And you said you're going to die out here.
I was going to say he had a lot of long-winded advice. But he pulled up on an RV or ATV with his cell phone out already. He's like, I got to take a photo. My buddies will never believe this. My hat's off to you boys. Like, oh, great.
Yeah, that's always, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, were you like...
Yeah, right. Muscles just atrophy.
Yeah.
But he had told us to ride a couple of miles further and get to Tanglewood Creek or Tangle Creek. He was like, it's a beautiful place to camp, well worth it. So we were hustling, but it was evident we weren't going to make it to that. So next day when we started riding, that ended up being another hour and a half further on some pretty rough riding. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful we stopped when we did. Just at that point we were in the mountains, so everything was a pretty steep climb or a pretty significant descent. So you really wanted to have your attention, your wits about you. But again, beautiful riding, and the temperature shot from 60 to 90 in no time, and that was one of the days that went over 100. So that was the challenge, and you go to chug some water and all your water is 80 degrees. So it's not helping. So I got into the red pretty quickly on this day and was nauseous pretty much the whole day. And I was just trying to fight my body temperature a little bit. So this ended up being the creek here.
Okay.
And there was enough water there that we could grab some and filter it and drink pretty freely. Nice little shady spot. This day, I think this is the day that we had a 4.5 mile climb.
Albert jumps in with looks like the shoes held up.
He's really going to hold a candle for that.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I'm going to grab another beer. Why don't we take our quick break?
Cool.
And then because then you could tell us how
I ride ended.
how it wound up.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll jump back here in a minute. Cool. We are going to take a quick break here. Let's first thank the members, though. They really do help make this channel better in every way. If you want to add your name to this list, there is a link in the chat right now and also below this video. It is really appreciated. Like I said, it will help make the channel better in every way, but you also do get some special perks. There are extra videos, more content, discount on swag, and a few other things. Check out the link if you're interested. We do appreciate any support here, though, so if you're just tuning in to watch for a little while, hit the like button. They say it helps out. But yeah, any kind of support, whether you've ever, bought a piece of swag, done a super chat, but even just watching is good enough. I appreciate it. I really have fun doing this, so I'm glad we have a little community here. Also, take this chance again to say join us in the Discord. That's become a really cool thing, too. We'll be back in about a minute. But one more time, thanks to the members.
I don't know. Wondering if maybe I'll get a sponsorship for my membership. Oh, we're back? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Man. Tough crowd. You know, you try to thank some people, but
Yeah, font nerds.
yeah, never good enough. Now he's pretty sure he hates all boats and all fish because of it. All right, so before they start hammering me again, let's get back into this story.
We'll put it back on me.
Did you see the thumbnail for this stream? Did you
No,
like the Fools Live?
Oh, definitely fools. Yeah.
So is this?
So this is day 3.
Yeah.
We're just crossing Tangle Creek or whatever that creek is called. Maybe Rusty knows what it is. Yeah. A lot of cows come through this area though, so you've got to be careful. And we toss some of those like catadin pills
Oh yeah.
into the water to more fully clean it. I don't know if that did anything. So that's part of what kind of worried me later in the day when I was getting really nauseous. I just thought, oh man, did I not purify the water well enough? And now I've got some bug.
So you were feeling that bad that you were
Yeah, I
thinking
was
you might
pretty-
be sick.
Yeah, I was struggling through that, but I could feel the heat just radiating from me, and so I knew my body, my like core temperature was way up, and I suspected that's what was causing the nausea. So this is the day we had about a 4.5 mile climb out of Bloody Basin, and it was challenging. It ranged from like 6% grade to over 15%. And it was just constant. Along this way, a rancher passed us. We were trying to rest on the side of the road. And this ranch truck pulls up and asks us if we've seen his dog. And like, no, we haven't seen another human or any living thing for a while. It's like, well, if you do see the dog, and he kind of pauses, he's like, yeah, we'll be back through. Just let us know. What are we going to do about it if we see the dog?
Yeah. You just watch for the vultures. That's where we'll be.
Right. Yeah, you'll know where we are.
Yeah.
So sure enough, we saw that guy drive past us probably 10 times that day. And then his son was in another vehicle and kept going through. The dog's name was Dora. So above us, echoing through the valley, we kept hearing, Dora! Dora! So at one point, we're working our way up this hill, and I look up because I hear the guy shouting, and I look up and I see his white truck. It might as well have been like St. Peter at the gates.
Yeah.
Right? It was so high up. I was just like, screw you, man. Why are you so high up there? I have to go there.
Yeah.
So I was riding the struggle bus. And so that's where I think we'd stopped and had matcha shots. Albert made some matcha for us, and then had a terrible pun. He's like, now let's go matcha up that hill.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what made me nauseous.
Yeah, that made you nauseous. But then you were also like,
Enough. Yeah.
I was about to make like 4 more matcha jokes, but
Go for it,
it
man.
might bring
the
it back.
mic is
though.
yours. Yeah,
I'm
right.
worried that it, that,
I don't want flashbacks.
yeah.
That was the first time I threw up on the side of the road. Was a few miles later. I just was like, I felt it, and I had to stop and just heaved. And all the thoughts came to mind of like, oh man, heat stroke, dehydration, don't throw up. That liquid's very necessary. Don't lose that. But I felt a lot better after that and was able to finish that climb, which was good.
Someone finally made the Dora was out exploring joke. So.
Oh, good. That's out there. And no, we never saw Dora. We saw a dog in the truck, but it was not Dora. So who knows? Dora's out there sowing her wild oats. So yeah, we got that climb done, and I kind of got my second wind at that point because it was just kind of rolling prairie roads for a while. Super fun. The road kind of smoothed out a little bit, like you can see, with some intermittent rough stuff, but not bad. Nothing worse than we'd been on. And then we got on, and I'm going to forget the name of this trail. Maybe Brent or Rusty can help out. But it's starts with a T, and it's the trail that leads into Cordes Junction. Dora was coyote food. That's dark, man. That's dark. Dial it back.
They're desert guys. They know the
They don't
reality.
care. Yeah. Dora gone.
Yeah.
So so we're on this trail.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Dingo ate my Dora.
Anyway, you're on this trail.
We're on this trail, and all of a sudden it turns into this like just sheer vertical insanity. It's only like less than half a mile. But
I'm gonna guess you weren't taking photos of this.
I was not taking photos at that point. I was just locked in, conserving
Yeah.
every ounce of energy. I knew I was in trouble, and so we hit that climb. And Albert, being a monster, muscles up it. But it was like it was about the grade of like Cadillac Hill, so it like jumped from 15 to 22 at points, and then it had like a turn to the right, and it just like laughed at you and was like, I'm gonna go steeper. Yeah, Albert, it was super fun. I liked it better than the lower section. What a dick. So I'm working my way up it, and I get about 50 yards from the top, and again, just I don't know if you've ever seen Alien, but when the android just pops and like the goo just starts pouring out of him, that was me. I just popped. I had to get off the bike, and I was dry heaving on the side of the road again. And at that point, my face felt like it was floating in front of my head. I was so hot, and really, I was scared at that point. Like, oh God, I'm in trouble. So Albert circled back down. He's like, dude, get up to the crest. The city's down below us. We're there. So get up to the top. I'm like, I just need water. I need ice. I need shade. I need it like yesterday. So Albert, being a champ, pulled up Hawley's Market. And because then I'm looking, and it's that desperation moment where you're looking down and everything was a valley below us, except that like the golden arches, which I could see, we're on this like huge hill, and I'm just like, I can't get there. I cannot get there. I need something closer, you know?
Yeah.
And so we found a place, and he led us there. It was a couple miles away, and he just went in and bought a huge bag of ice, water, beef sticks, tortilla chips.
Always with the beef stick.
Always the beef sticks and the tortilla chips, but it was exactly what the doctor ordered. I was just basically like a zombie in the midst of heat stroke sitting on this. And I can only imagine what I looked like wearing a 3-day chamois, 3-day like long sleeve white Capilene shirt that was not white anymore, and just drenched, just drained. So slowly climbed back to a little bit of energy when we found a motel. Went to that. Motel had a diner called the 50s Diner, and the bar was called the Backseat Bar. So you know it was classy.
And also the marketing is
It's there. It's very direct, very literal. So yeah, I basically, it took everything I had in the reserves to get to that motel. And at that point, I don't know if I said it to Albert or if I hallucinated it to him, but it was just like, yeah, I think maybe this is the end of my journey. Like I could not imagine at that point jumping back out, which was the Black Canyon Trail was next, which is all single track mountain biking for about 30 miles. It's just like, man, I'm going to get out on that, and I might feel good for like 10 miles, but then what?
Yeah.
You know? And
felt like you were in too far a deficit to even like a night or
Yeah, and we had both agreed, like, let's get fluids in you, get a shower, wash clothes, get a good meal, good night's sleep, and we'll see what tomorrow looks like. It's like, fair enough. Because what's the other option? I don't know really what the other option is. So went through all that, but I was just kind of in that just floating phase where I wasn't connected. I kind of felt concussed almost, where your brain's just not engaging with stuff. And at one point, I mean, I was so dehydrated that I think I urinated blood. It was very dark. It was there were scary signs. So the next morning I woke up and I felt better, but I could tell it was maybe 30%, you know. It's like I can't do this. So I felt awful. I didn't want to, even though I knew Albert was completely capable of doing the whole thing on his own. Never feels good to leave a buddy.
Yeah.
To go by themselves.
Is this the motel?
This is the motel. Yeah, number 1. That's what we were. That's me.
Oh, you could. Oh, look at this.
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at the fingers.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. So just because everyone else doesn't, well, a few people know you. This isn't like a put down because, like I said, I wouldn't have made it through the first day. But I'm surprised because, like, one, you're someone who, and I'm also trying to think of your two personalities together because you've run me ragged on some rides, like the Conneaut ride where, like, we got to the end where I finally let go of the wheel. Like, I would rather just fall off the side of the road and die right now. And then I'm like, oh, there's the lake. We made it. And it was just one of those lucky timing things. And then also some people have seen when this used to be a glass desk, it completely collapsed and was a total disaster.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, I took a picture and everyone's messaging me, what the hell? And Albert's response was, oh, you have a Marantz? Which is the stereo that's right here. So, and I just think that, in a nutshell, kind of sums up your two personalities really quick. But
you got it.
So I'm imagining this all going on, knowing you too.
Yeah. Well, so to that point, I wouldn't have done this ride with anybody I didn't trust. I would have done it with you.
Yeah.
I would have done it with Ben. Like, there's not a handful. There's a few people.
Yeah.
That I would have trusted to know that, like, you can go into the deepest pit of the well and dig as deep as possible. And if you have to tap out, the other person's going to know, well, you must be at the bottom.
Yeah. None of us would tap out without, it would be.
Exactly. You know that that's the bottom of the barrel at that point, and
we're not even that. It's not even a competitive thing.
No.
I mean, like I've talked about, like when we were talking to Pudgy, like we'll all go for a Strava segment and stuff like that, but we all do like to push it, like, you know, and not always speed, but something like this. If we were all there together and only one of us was feeling well, it would be double bad because you're like, oh, I don't like. We all want to make it, you know.
That was probably like a secondary fear. Was like, well, what am I going to do? Try to push on out of some like personal pride and then truly ruin the ride when we have to be medevaced out of the middle of the Black Canyon Trail. Albert has to fashion like some sort of Native American sled. That he pulls So,
and they're saying you did the right thing. You got to know when to call it, and that's true. And the fact is, you probably would have been better off calling it earlier.
Probably.
And I think we would all go a little beyond where we should call it.
And that's the thing about, so again, being completely new to this experience, what you learn is you can't call it when you want to call it because you're in the middle of nowhere.
You're in the desert.
So you've got to go beyond when you would call it. And then when it truly comes time to call it, it's not a question.
Yeah.
So you're like, I would have called it 20 miles ago. Yeah. But
so
now I'm here.
There's no choice.
Now I'm done.
Right.
Yes, it's empty.
So what was the town with the hotel?
That was Cordes Junction.
Okay. So does Fool's Loop, were you doing like a full, so the next day would have gotten you back to Phoenix? Or?
So there's an optional, right. Cordes Junction is kind of the pinnacle, the apex of the loop, unless you do what Albert did, which was take the northern loop of Black Canyon Trail, which is an additional 30 miles. Which is, when you look at the back...
Sounds like a good choice.
Yeah, right? When you look at the bike packing site, that is included in the like total mileage. Mm-hmm. So it's factored in there. But it's all single track, super technical. And Albert, when I talked to him later that next day, just had a blast. It's like he had this surge of energy and he was riding free and easy, probably because he got rid of the dead weight.
He's like, God, that dude pissing blood back there, slowing me down.
Sid Vicious over here. Go hang out with Nancy. But yeah, on your point about our different personalities, I mean, that was one reason that I knew that we'd be fine. Is Albert is not an emotionally like peaking guy, super understated, and so what I didn't want was to be with somebody like, you know, you could die out here.
Yeah.
But just to keep it super chill, and to be Johnny in control when the time came. And sure enough, he was. And boom, everything was handled.
And I also love
I didn't
that
have
he
to
still
apologize.
did it. Yeah, it wasn't ruining his.
That's it.
Yeah.
I was able just to be like, dude, whatever I decide, you know that your adventure continues on. And
I
it was
don't
not
need
a
someone
question.
to lay here and put a
Please don't. Yes.
damp washcloth
Go.
on my forehead.
Yeah, please don't. We won't talk about that part. I'm just going to leave that part out of the story. But no. So yeah, he continued on and did that northern loop, and then it actually loops you back to Cordes Junction. And then you continue on, still on the Black Canyon Trail, but now going south into Black Canyon City, and then New River, and then back kind of the suburbs of Phoenix and down.
So it would have been 2 more days?
2 more days.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So I ended up getting a car service. There was like a shuttle in town that the guy drove me back into Phoenix. Really nice guy. And spent the rest of the day laying by the pool.
Yeah.
Not that Albert needs to know that.
Spent the rest of the day poolside.
Yeah. It was quite the transformation. And then Albert got back to Cordes Junction, went a little further south that night, camped out. And then he continued riding, but the next day was just all switchback, single track. So really not making any progress. It was super slow progress. And he was almost going to have to pull a Sentry to get back to Phoenix on that last day.
And that was part of the plan, or you were a little behind from...
We were a little behind
Yeah.
from we probably should have gone north of Cordes Junction when I had a stop there. So at about 40 miles away, he messaged in and was, at this point I was back at our B&B, and he was just like, yeah, I think it was like 6 o'clock at night. It's like, I think I need a car. It's going to be 10 o'clock before I get back.
Yeah.
And that's not safe. So got a car service for him. But he, for all intents and purposes, did the hard work of the Fool's Loop. The only thing he missed was a lot of suburban streets. But yeah, it was an epic experience, and I ended up on my 2 days in Phoenix. I rode the Canal Trail a whole bunch, which was really cool, and kind of rode through town, which was super fun. As my energy started coming back, and there's nothing like the comfort of being in a town where at any point you can stop and get a Gatorade or a water or food. That has a way of bolstering your energy a little when you're not feeling great, and started coming back to life. And
Yeah, and like I said, I've only done Ohio to Erie, Gap Trail, where you're never there's no real worries. Even me and Aaron started a bonk outside of Columbus, and it was like, if we pulled over, slammed like sugary stuff, and then at the next gas station refilled in case that happens again. You're not in a situation where you can't.
That was unique. Yeah. That was it was definitely something where I felt very vulnerable, but like people are saying in the feed, when you know, you just gotta muscle through until the next safe spot, and then try to have a clear head to make good decisions.
and I kind of thinking, like, even if something like a conversation like this, if you wanted to say, what would you do different? There's not really anything you messed up on. You just got either, I know Rusty was dropping some names that I will just butcher, but of like what you might have had. And like you said, if the water was bad, if it wasn't purified enough, or if it was just heat stroke, you were trying to bring on enough water, you were doing what you could. So it doesn't really sound like there's that much of a lesson about this is a really tough thing, and that might not be, you might not make it, right?
Right. I think when I looked on some of the rides that recorded on Strava, on a lot of the segments, there was like 105 people, 105 segment recordings. It's just not something a lot of people take on. So yeah, I agree. I've thought a lot about that. Like, what would I do differently next time? Number one, full body fitness, not just riding fitness, I think is something I would need to work on. So,
What do you mean, like core strength, or because you
probably,
ride a lot?
Yeah, I ride a lot, but I think
for references, you're already at like what for this year?
I think like 2,300, 2,400.
So, most people here at use Strava know where they are. So you're a strong rider, like.
Yeah, and I felt really confident in my riding fitness, But I think like where my temperature management went a little out of control, maybe if I was in a bit better shape overall, like core or upper body, maybe I could have managed that more. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my body composition is not made for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But obviously, like Albert was. So it is possible, you know. But for whatever reason, my body temp went out of control. Probably like having at least one water container that's a double walled container would be good.
JM's at 555 super chatted $5. Congrats. A story and memories you will have forever, kind sir.
Thanks, James.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, some sort of double walled container that would keep it slightly cooler. Because from what
I
I've
feel like
read
that's
about,
not a problem for me because I'm not a cold water guy.
Okay.
But I've also never ridden in the desert, so that might
I've never ridden in that
to
kind
bring
of
your
heat.
temperature down. So like on a summer Ohio day on a 50-mile ride, I don't care that my water bottle got warm.
Right.
I know Ben and Aaron hate that. But
You know what
that
I've
might
read,
make a difference if you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh
Sorry,
no,
you were gonna
yeah.
say,
I was just gonna say I read this book Endurance that talks a lot about like super athletes, and it talks a lot about hydration and kind of the myth of hydration. And obviously, it's very important. And we had a lot of electrolytes, Noon, and various other electrolyte additives.
Yeah, someone said salty snacks.
Yeah. So we had tons of that, and the evidence was my gloves could stand up on their own, and my hat and my shirt. It was so full of that stuff. But one of the things in the book was bringing down your core temperature.
So
If
it
you
is important
can't
in
bring
the
your
desert.
body temp down, it doesn't matter how hydrated you are because now you're starting to throw off a lot of those autonomic systems. So
Interesting.
yeah, you're drinking from an 85-degree bottle of water, and you're just exaggerating the problem.
You're putting more. Yeah, just like how you could hot tea or hot coffee if you're walking in New York City on a vacation helps warm you up.
Yep.
Cold water is going to help cool you down when you need it.
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's something, but I think just going at a better time of year, frankly, I think it would have still been a huge
Bucky
physical.
Bevel Pusher super chatted $1.99. Tim, I hate boats and fish and it's your fault. Banana, peanut.
it needs better enunciation at the end. Peanut. I felt like there was more coming.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Anyway,
It would have been, it still probably would have pushed me to my max. I know for sure, even if it were 70 degrees every day.
yeah, because it's so.
But at least there would have been that management.
So this is about a week ago, right? When did you guys get back? Yeah.
Yeah, we got back on late Thursday night.
Rick said ice cream enemas.
Pack that ice cream enemas.
Yeah.
I would have been down for it. When we got to Cordes Junction, I would have been like, yes.
Yeah, you would have been like.
Yeah, serve it up, double scoop. Soft serve, please. Sprinkles? I already got them.
It is interesting because like I've always one of the reasons I don't mind like especially room temp water. I'm not talking 85 is because I can pound it. So I come in, but then again that's room temp, so we're talking 68 when it's been 80 out in Ohio, which is And I remember thinking like really cold water sometimes I'm just like I just sip it and I felt like I wasn't hydrating myself enough. But again, this is the desert. Yeah, it's just a totally different mindset, and that's probably part of the problem is we don't have this.
Right.
It's not anything that
When we flew out, it was snowing here.
Marge.
Nice sleeping pad. Thank you, Large Marge. If I
about to
saw
hear a
that
lot of
message come
bananas.
from Bo Nair, I might respect it a little more.
Is Ben not getting the? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Large Image super chatted $2.69. Get yourself a nice sleeping pad. Banana, 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 banana.
Brent said for a serious comment. I read the one before. Now I can't focus.
Yeah.
But he said my tech tea was stiff after the third day. I can imagine. Salt, just yeah.
Yeah, well, and Brent, that is the one lesson that I will definitely change for the next time. So I wore a long sleeve every single day. It was like a Patagonia white.
To keep the sun up, was that part of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capeline, so super light and flowy. But my big mistake was I wore that every day. I should have brought a second one because I think by the third day, it just basically was a piece of cardboard that I was wearing.
Yeah.
And it was not wicking anymore. And it was just trapping heat.
Oh, yeah. So is it just...
I think it
wouldn't
did
have
the
known it.
opposite.
But again, that's something I wouldn't have known because Ohio to Erie, when I'm maximizing like space and being like, do I really need another
Yeah.
jersey? It's going to get wet. And if it is, it's like quick dry. I'm not that sweaty. Like we actually, like someone mentioned, dump water on yourself because...
Yep.
We get the gout, especially last year with the
Dump that on.
pandemic. We couldn't fill up at like
Oh, yeah.
drinking fountains, so we were going to like the gas stations and stuff and getting the gallons. And when it would be like, no one needs anything else in their bottle, everyone was taking turns.
And hankies are great because you soak those and you put them around your neck and they feel so good.
we did. That's why I started wearing these. Was at the farm when we
Okay.
had a hand pick when the machine was broke or the early corn. We would soak these. So when we were out there in that early July
Feels
heat,
amazing.
yeah, you had that around your neck. It dripped down your shirt a little bit. So
Yeah, it's something I learned from motorcycling that you do that and it doesn't last long, but it feels great for
it helps for a little while,
Few
and then
miles.
it's still something to wipe your head with. And
yeah. But definitely a second shirt would super help. Yeah, I think yeah, it was a good test, and I'm excited to do it again. I definitely would. I don't know that I would do Fool's Loop again right away. I would. There's a lot of places to go and,
Yeah.
and a lot of things to do.
And some places have trees. And
Yeah, there's some places that aren't the desert,
Water,
which is
yeah.
kind of cool to explore.
I go on and on about how cool Patrick's like videos look because I just think it's amazing in that landscape and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But again, this is an intense thing to do. And didn't Brent went with like Andy White and stuff, right? But they went in the middle winter, right? So he said it was 70s when he was there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think they went maybe end of February, mid-February. But I mean, so that would help for sure. It was a freak week because now in Phoenix it's back down in the 80s again. So we just happened to be there at a tough time.
Pudgy asked if you consider bringing a refrigerator with you. Yeah, it's interesting because people like when we do like Ohio to Erie or even just like an overnighter on the towpath when it's 90 or in the 90s and super humid here, which
Yeah.
everyone talks about the difference between the dry heat and all that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you're sweating like
Hot's
crazy
hot,
here.
yeah.
But we have so much shade, and so only some sections of the towpath are exposed. And so you
Right, that does
might be
help.
hot for a little while, but then you're like in that breeze and the shade, and that like even with a humid hot day on the bike, we tend to, fully loaded with, say if I'm just riding with Ben, we're still doing 13, 14. So even if
Yeah.
it's not windy, you have a 13, 14 mile an hour breeze on you, and that just makes a huge, I'd have to, well, like I said, I haven't ridden in the desert, but just
Yeah.
a huge difference, right? Like,
For sure. I mean, the reality was, no joke, when we were climbing a lot of the steep, long climbs, it was 3 to 4 miles an hour. So there's just not a breeze.
you're barely,
And
yeah,
as
you're
soon as
crawling.
you start that climb, I just felt like the temperature go way up because the exertion level goes up. And so, again, that's what was so fascinating about the ride. Like, I do feel confident about my riding shape and comfort on the bike and experience with that. So it was really interesting to see, okay, that is a lot of riding, but it only is worth so much. This is a different landscape. It's a different environment. And because otherwise you're just stuck in your head thinking like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in my body? Am I okay? Am I going to blow my tire? Like all the things you don't need to think about. Because if they happen, they happen. Your brain isn't going to stop it.
Because that's one of the things I've always wanted to do is do one of the long climbs, like even like I love pro cycling. But
Yeah.
again, I'm thinking like, if I'm climbing Ventoux or Alpe d'Huez, it's going to be like 50 degrees. So
Yeah, right.
it's going to be long and it's going to be like mentally something you've
Grueling.
never done,
Yeah.
but you're not going to also be contending with this level of what you guys were, going through.
Yeah, the
And also
human
just totally different. Rick asked if you winter ride, and you actually commute every weekday, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And in Ohio, in Akron, there's 1 week usually a year that's pretty miserable. The rest of it, you acclimate. You guys know you acclimate to it, and you're just kind of like, this is kind of beautiful, you know.
Yeah, there's times where it's peaceful.
Yeah, and if anything, the only annoying part of winter riding here is having to layer up, and it's so nice then when spring comes and you save yourself 15 minutes of dressing.
Yeah, it really is.
Jump out of the house.
By after a few weeks into cold weather in the winter, it's it really it becomes to me down to like 19.
Yeah,
it's about where it doesn't.
And that's
bother
when it starts
me.
to hurt.
Yeah. But it's just it's the process that sucks. It's just like everything in the process.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pudgy said having a frozen water balloon fight helps.
All things I'll keep in mind for the next time I find myself in the desert. Yeah.
Why don't we just have a frozen water balloon fight? Why
Dang
didn't you
it,
think of
Albert?
that?
Come on.
Yeah, help a brother
I
out.
thought he would have that. Yeah, and the crazy thing on the third day was we had this really strong breeze, which felt amazing. It probably sustained me quite a bit, but also it dried me out so fast. My lips were just like cracked into a zillion pieces.
Yeah.
So it soaked all my water up, but it did bring my temperature down a lot. So I was thankful for that. Yeah, pretty wild out there.
Large Marge brought up winter centuries. I guess you do have two nemesises.
Oh my god! Yeah, yeah.
The extreme ends of the
That
spectrum.
one. That was another one that if that was in the middle of the desert, I would have been in trouble. I would have tapped out. I should have tapped out on that one. But again, that was one where I did feel the like friendship pride of like, no, I will not give up on this.
It's just
I will
cold.
not do it. I'm miserable. I don't care.
It's interesting too because you're talking about long climbs and then also just the tough terrain and the heat. Because when you're talking about the daily mileage, to us that sounds like low in the Midwest. Like,
40 to 50 miles a day.
on Ohio to Erie, because we want to get to Columbus on the second night, like we do a 93-mile day.
Yeah.
And it's tiring, but you got all day to do it. You
Right.
stop and eat some food. You sit in the shade. You're riding in the shade.
Once you get north of 50, you're like, cool, we're clicking it
Yeah.
down now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it was tedious miles. It was just such slow moving miles. And, you know, the other thing you'd mentioned on the towpath or any of these Erie to Canal paths, really any roads in the Ohio area, you're going to have tree cover or the sun is going to be obscured for periods of time under clouds or things like that. And what we found in Arizona, basically at 6 a.m. when the sun came up until 6 p.m., it was sun. So it was just 12 hours of unobstructed sun just kind of like laughing at you
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah, and it's rare to get like a straight week of sun in Ohio. So
Right. Yeah.
Even without, say, we didn't have any trees, you're not going to be in the sun all day.
That ain't us. Yeah.
And yeah, Large Marge is saying lack of sleep doesn't help. I'm sure every little, just so many factors there adding up.
Yeah.
But of course, Albert is just Terminator 2, and it just does not.
His nose did bleed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his nose bled, and I was
So
like,
dry,
oh, cool, that's to prove you're human. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I had a chance to text my wife, I was like, yeah, here's where we are, here's how it's going. And I was like, Albert's nose bled today. She's like, oh, so he's an android. He's not a robot. No, but I mean, and that, all joking aside, to not dismiss Albert's sheer maniacal toughness on the road. I mean, anybody that's ridden with that guy, it's hats off. A person that has a pure love for riding and and just like technical savvy and calm in the saddle. It's pretty cool. I mean, you talked about we really started hanging out when you had first started riding again a lot. And that was something that I remember talking to you because I had just bought a decent bike, but I wasn't riding it in the wintertime. But I saw that you were like every photo shoot and everything, you were always on your bike. I'm like, that's cool, man. And you're like, yeah, any chance I get to ride, I'm going to ride to the place. I was like, oh, yeah. And then a little later in the year, I was talking to a bunch of you guys and was bemoaning the fact that, you know, I've been riding all this season, but winter's coming and now I'm going to lose all that. And,
Oh, yeah.
and you and Ben and a couple of guys were just like, you could just keep riding during the summer or during the winter.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that could happen. So it's interesting what happens, whether it be biking or arts or whatever it is that you're interested in. When you surround yourself with people that are like a tier above, either you shrink back and you're intimidated by it, or you say like, okay, I like those people, I know those people, I want to try that.
Yeah, it's
and
possible.
It's possible, and that's the nuance between competition as a negative and a positive that you've talked about. Is that kind of competitive mindset is like, that's possible. I can do that, and let's see what happens when I try it. So that was something I was excited to do with Albert on this ride, was just to be like, listen, I know this dude is like 3 or 5 or 100 steps ahead of me in terms of riding. I'm psyched to ride with this guy. We don't get to spend a lot of time together. This will be fun, and let's see what I can learn about myself and learn from him. And all that came true. And I would have loved to have finished all 5 days, but I just happened to learn it all in 3 days.
Yeah.
And my lesson was over at that point. So maybe next time I'll get more of a lesson, or the lesson will get stretched out longer. But as for this time, it all got abbreviated or annotated, whatever.
Yeah, and I remember that.
Abridged, that's the word.
There were people like, I went out, like same thing. I had the same experience. I went out in the snow, and then my old mountain bike, which I thought was my winter bike, and I couldn't keep it upright. We were going to do this camping trip down to Maslin. And like, I got down by like just into downtown Akron by the Howe House and all that. And I'm just like falling everywhere. And I'm like, oh, I can't ride in the winter. And then I just gave it up. And I'm like, oh, that's not a thing. And then Otis was like, you need studded tires if you want to ride in the snow, not just the cold.
Right.
Because I'm still riding the cold. And then I got him. I'm like, oh, it was a technology issue. I just didn't have the right gear issue. Yeah. And you're like, okay, once I realized I could handle the cold, now I just need the right stuff, So, and you just kind of keep, I don't know. And I remember thinking, I'm like, that year that I was trying to do that, I'm like, I don't want to give up riding in the winter. Like, I don't want to give up riding at all. Like I said, the cold rain is my nemesis.
No,
the
that's
40-degree rain.
That's not fun.
I don't have any, those are the days that I could do something else.
At that point, it's just kind of stupid stubbornness. But I think that's where biking and photography is similar, is that it is also a technology issue. Like, you got to have a great eye, you've got to be at the right moment and know how to capture the image, but you do need the right technology, you do need the right equipment to make it work. And so it's the same with biking.
There's certain things.
There is a level you need to have of quality of machine, and that's where the Fargo is. I'm lucky to have a few bikes, and so that one can be the one to abuse on mountain biking, which that's my mountain biking bike. Now for bike packing and
there is that level. And Rick, who I bought the studio from about photography, always said, he was like, you'll know when you outgrow your camera, or when your gear is the limiting factor. And I think that's the same kind of thing. Like, if I would have went out here on my rally, I would have learned real quick that my gear was a limiting factor. Like,
which is a shame, because if it's your gear instead of you, like, I would much rather. I'm so glad it was me that gave out rather than the bike.
That would be the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why Albert wanted to do this again, was the bike failed, not him. Yeah. And so it's one of those cool things too, that it's a bike, it's a steel and carbon fiber. But you create this bond with it where you're like, man, you carried my sorry butt. Yeah. You just kept doing the thing, and you put up with so much abuse. And I couldn't love that bike more now, especially than before we even did that trip. So I'm excited to take it on another ride.
I've talked about that before. It's weird how you do form those. Like, some of my bikes do have that emotional connection, and other ones are like the bike I ended up putting on my trainer. I bought it off Otis's brother. Like, I had some great rides on it. Now it's on the train. There's no like emotional connection with that bike. Right. But, like, my old Peugeot that has 4,500 miles on it, even though now it's not practical in any way to the riding I want to do, I still take it out a couple times a year, because it's like I have this emotional connection from the experiences that happened on that bike.
Absolutely.
So,
we're getting called out for hippie talk.
Oh, yeah. And then you see Ricky said my iPad died. What did I miss? Did Micah finish the loop?
Yeah, just go with that. Yeah. Director's cut.
And this is what they use for Brad, because I don't know if you've ever seen Brad's tattoo.
No.
Oh,
Funny Brad?
funny Brad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't even know about Brad's leg tattoo?
No.
Oh.
All right, I'll watch for that.
Well, they all know, but because they know, even though you don't know.
How do I not know?
I think
I went to college with the guy.
I think he was on the stream one night, and I was a little loose with my words, and I unveiled his tattoo to the world. But he didn't show it, but he has a tattoo he drew that is a lizard, but the head is a yin yang.
I see. So Funny Brad is more like an italicized funny.
Funny, a quote?
Yeah.
Funny Brad.
Not funny, ha ha.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Thanks, Rusty.
Yeah, he always wears long socks. Yeah, you went to college with him. You didn't know he had.
Yeah, I didn't know. Well, long socks, I understand.
Just they all know, or everyone who's a regular kind of knows. But Brad drew this, and he went to get the tattoo. I can't remember. He would have to tell you what age he was. But the tattoo artist tried to talk him out of it. and Brad was like insistent, like, I know this is cool. Like,
Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, well, Brad, he's a man of conviction.
yeah.
I see my dad. That's right. It's a Detroit Tough Salsa Fargo. I
yeah.
bought that bike at Metropolis Bike Works up in Detroit.
That's right. Yeah.
It was before Otis carried salsas, and I had to break that news to him. But
Yeah. You've spent some money there on this bike since then.
we've couple drivetrains later and various other things. But
Cool. Should I let you tap out, or
yeah, I think yet again. This time voluntarily.
guys starting a real habit here?
Yeah, jeez. So now I'm tap out Micah. Okay, great.
Yeah, this crowd has a long memory.
That's my emoji is just. Yeah, thanks, man. That was fun. It was fun to relive it.
I was
Yeah.
glad to hear, but because I actually haven't had the chance to talk to Mike about this. We were at a friend's open house for his vintage
his
salvage,
workshop studio.
Studio business. But there was just no one's talked to anyone in so long that it was hard to maintain any conversation.
Yeah.
And then when we saw each other on the path tonight, Micah said to me, he was like, "Can't talk. We'll waste all the content." So
That's right. Just gotta go.
yeah, so definitely interesting to hear it. But yeah, so
Thanks, everybody. It was
thanks for
fun.
hanging out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That was awesome.
I'll go to the pedal break and then I'll come back to close it up. So.
All right.
I said, "Oh, you guys are still here?" As you can imagine, it was hard to have a real quick goodbye after that. I'm being honest, I actually didn't know the story at all. Like, Aaron rode with Albert's wife. What day was that? Thursday, and told me that Micah had actually tapped out, and I was like, Micah tapped out? No way. Like, there's no way. I know that dude, but yeah. So that was all for the first time. We shared like a couple quick stories as I was setting up. He told me the airport road story, but yeah, that was pretty cool. That was really enjoyable to hear his story, and it was kind of nice that I didn't know it and to hear it for the first time myself as well. So Mike showing Tim where the monster bit him. I actually did a couple weeks ago. I realized to put the I think my volume might be a little hot, to put the pedal brake video on repeat. So I'm like, got to say goodbye to someone. I actually have to pedal more. So yeah. Oh, what's up, citizen? I just saw that you joined. I saw right at the end of the conversation that you had jumped in. I do have to go back and read these comments about how long this pedal break was. I could only imagine what you guys are saying. Oh, JMZ asked about VGNO. Yeah, Virtual Guys Night Out. A joke from very early in the streams. So Pudgy actually texted me IRL to ask if I'm alive. So yeah, totally alive. But just me and Micah don't get to talk enough in general. Like I even said about our friend's opening on Saturday. We barely even made it over to each other. And when we do hang out, it's sometimes like, just got all this stuff. We both are kind of in similar, businesses and stuff like that. So yeah, just a dopey break. Getting back to the chat. Yeah. Yeah, the pedal break video, citizen, is for really when I've had a couple beers and I need to take a leak, but they totally made out. Rick said Micah was a great guest. Yeah, and that's like, I know someone made the joke about him not being a member. I was like, with Rusty and Patrick, and we've all kind of talked about this, and then with me and Large Marge, like in the chat, and we showed some of his footage, and then also with the Discord we have going on, it just seems that I'm like, this group is going to be interested in this story, you know what I mean? And Micah's a good friend that would come on and talk about it. I'm like, this is definitely worth doing, so. Pudgy, you're on fire tonight. See, I know a lot of you guys did share bike pics because today turned out beautiful. I guess I didn't pay attention to what the weather was supposed to be. So yeah, like I said earlier, right at the beginning of the stream, I had ridden, Aaron was having a little meeting with a few of us in Dirty River Bicycle Works about some bicycle advocacy work she's doing, but I left early to get like an extra loop and just perfect sun and all that kind of stuff. I also tested out the new the new bag I got, which is the Camp and Go Slow version of the Zeitgeist. So I am going to make a video about that, my new bike packing setup. So obviously not something that is extreme and would work for what Micah and Albert were just doing in Arizona, but also the idea is that something that's tight and could deal with rougher terrain in general. So so much better than Rick's video. This is like I don't think I've ever showed this on the stream, but it's on my YouTube channel, but this is a video of Micah that I made, actually screen printing the shirts that I sent out to a lot of the people who were here for the 1,000 Dare video. And it's like, I was trying to do like kind of the modern YouTube or modern, that, I don't know, speed ramping type video, a little more intense. So yeah, the video that I'm kind of proud of that doesn't do that well because it's not a cycling video on this YouTube channel, but I was thinking of popping this up and showing this too while he was here, but the conversation was going so well, so it was unnecessary. But I'll throw it up while we're chatting here and I'm reading the messages. Check the volume level. Citizen put a 52 chain ring on, 32 mile per hour on the flats. What's your rear, an 11 or? Oh, that's probably too loud to hear me. Most of my old bikes have 52 on the front, but they don't actually have 11 on the back. They're more like 14, I believe. $13 and the 5213, yeah, that's still a tall gear there, yeah. Yeah, so it's really cool that Micah's going to move into doing this kind of work as his like primary income. So he's going to stick to doing a little part-time teaching, I believe, but yeah, he's leaving the safety of that full-time secure job to go on and do his like artwork. So Rick, I know it's a joke, but this is the most editing I've ever done on a video, and this is like 2 minutes, and it's like 4 hours of editing, so at least. Yeah, I thought that was a cool way to show what Micah does, and also I wanted to try out doing a video of that style, but also that it would be a repetitive thing since he was going to be screen printing so many things. I knew what I had in my mind. I would need a lot of shots of the same things. So yeah, thanks guys. It is something I'm kind of proud of. And it was just like I wanted to prove that I could do something like that. I don't know if you guys know like Peter McKinnon or any of that kind, those YouTubers who do a lot of that kind of stuff as B-roll. I'm like, can I pull that off? So, yeah. That is that. So, I'm trying to think if I could definitely show some of your guys' bike photos because everyone, like I was saying earlier, everyone posted a bunch of pretty cool stuff with the nice weather we've been having. Everyone's been chatting a lot too, so it always takes a minute to find them. Former teacher rage. Oh yeah, JB5 with that picture of the, as he said, Schwinn in his natural habitat. That's crazy. And then out riding Surly. Yeah, it looks like a nice spot right now. Obsolescence took a bunch of photos. Like I had mentioned, his brother lives right next to me, and I talked to him when I was pulling in on my bike, trying to get back here tonight and get set up before Micah got here. So, Kenmore Marketplace. I must pass this place all the time, but it's not looking familiar to me. Huh. Oh, I like the shot of Akron, like dramatic silhouette shot with that sunset. Beautiful sunset here tonight in Akron. It's down on the boulevard, Kenmore Boulevard, I assume. Then Antoony said food run. Nice. With the basket. JMZ said he still can't figure it out who just brings a frame into the woods. Yeah, then whips it into a tree. It's interesting. A bunch of us. So even on Strava tonight, I saw Obsolescence say that whose photos we're looking at that he passed EJ, who I saw tonight, and then when I was talking to EJ, he said he passed Zach, and I saw Zach like a couple minutes before. It's one thing that living in a city this size is kind of cool. That like in the biking community, cycling community, we start to all get to know each other, even if you don't know each other well, and it's then when you're out riding, you just start to see like a lot of the same people, and you get to know them just from passing them, and then eventually now, even with this channel, we've started to get to know each other because there's a few of you I wouldn't know even locally without it. So this is Jay Dandy. Oh, he got a shot out in Kent today. Nice. Oh, there's the Gary Fisher. Yeah. I didn't ride to the he said the store should have. I didn't ride out to my shot, and I kind of wanted to because it wasn't that far, but just that some people have had a bad reaction, I was a little bit worried about doing that. So I was like, oh man, I could ride there. It's not that far. But then I'm like, what if I have a negative reaction to it? And I know most of those come later and all that. You know, people get, if you do get a little sick from the second shot, it's usually not right on that time. But I still just got, as much as I love riding my bike, I still got a little nervous. And then Dylan said, fun night of shredding. I think Dylan's probably usually taps out now. That's the new phrase by now. Oh, that's an awesome shot. That doesn't even look like a trail, does it? From the angle, like with the weeds like going through there. Oh, we got a puncture by a pin of Frito. Wow, look at that. We got to zoom in on that. That is crazy. Got a puncture from an enamel pin. Our Citizen says he keeps waiting to see us out somewhere. Same with Summit Perry. Summit Perry, like I will get back from a ride and then see his Instagram account, and we were like, and like off the beaten path, literally like missed each other by like a half an hour. There's a couple other guys who sometimes tune into the channel, and some who don't, but that I'm just like amazed that I have not met in person yet. Some people do Dirty Rivers rides on Sunday, which I don't because that's me and Aaron's chill morning. And to be 100% honest, I love watching pro racing on Sunday mornings and riding a little later. So, especially during the classic season, that's my favorite kind of cycling. Apparently, those of us who got the J&J shot. Did you see though with the Johnson & Johnson shot, like the numbers are like 6 people have had problems. Like 6 people out of like, don't write this in the newspaper, but it's something like 6 million. Like that shot should still be giving out because the greater benefit of it, I mean, yeah, Johnson & Johnson has clogged up 6 people with blood clots. Like, I mean, that's like the chance of getting struck by lightning. I mean, it sucks. It obviously sucks for the 6 people it happened to. I'm not saying it doesn't, but hundreds of thousands of people have died from COVID. Hundreds of thousands, you know, just whatever. But Oh, listen to this, Large Marge. So when I was riding, he said, Strava flybys are a great way to check that stuff out. And I was actually, when I was riding with EJ, I was telling him that because we passed each other, and he's more of like roadie style, so he had the full like kit on and shades, and then with the helmet and cap. Someone said, "Hey Tim," and I was like, "Hey," and I didn't. I was like, oh, "Who was that? Should I have stopped or should I have turned around?" I looked back and I didn't see them turn around, so I was going, and then he did turn around and catch back up to me, and I was also still cruising. By the way, it just shows that he is a serious cyclist, but a really fast cyclist. Caught up when we were chatting, and I told him how we used to do that. Like if me and Large Marge were out riding, we passed a couple people. We would look on the flybys to see like, oh, was that someone we really knew, or where did they ride that day? Strava has turned off your individual. It always showing you on flybys. You have to opt in now. This is what EJ was telling me. Because of a privacy concern, people didn't realize that you were automatically opted in to flybys, which is something I just hadn't thought about because, again, I don't think about that. But you think if you're in the cycling community, you ride a lot, you have, say, ex-girlfriends or other people or ex-boyfriends or who ride, and you don't always want them to know what you're up to. It makes sense that you're opted out. But I think a lot of people don't know about that to opt in now. So it's probably not going to be, something that is as useful as it used to be in that way. Not a creeping on people useful, but like, oh, was that this friend that I should try and talk to and connect with? But whatever. Yeah. Yeah, 6 people out of millions on the J&J shot. Oh, you guys. Yeah, I mean, same with Europe. What is the one they have over there? The AstraZeneca that had a blood clot issue. But again, it was like Europe is like parts of Europe are in full lockdown because they can't get people vaccinated enough. I just can't believe that the United States did one thing right, which we did was the vaccination thing, cutting through the red tape, getting them out there. Yeah, so they've pulled them from here, and I know I saw, Pudgy, your story about pulling them in Columbus after you already got it. I would still take the Johnson & Johnson shot in a second if I wasn't already one dose into the Pfizer. But yeah, they pulled it from our big fair site, and it's just frustrating. But only nihilists get the Johnson & Johnson. Yeah. I mean, all these vaccines are not even FDA approved, for the record. I mean, like, this is just like a dire situation that, that's how life goes. Everything is a calculated risk. Talking to Micah tonight about what they did, right? Obviously a calculated risk. So, yeah, I don't know. That's how you have to live your life. You decide what risks are worth taking and what risks aren't worth taking. To me, personally, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine would be a risk I would be willing to take. But even if I was a woman, to be clear, because someone said it's only affected. I have not read the in-depth articles. I just know the stats. Pudgy said he's known quite a few women who have deleted Strava due to Strava stalkers. I can understand that, and I'm not a woman, so I'm a white middle-aged dude, so I don't have those kind of concerns that other people would. Strava does have a feature that will, I don't know, I've never looked into it because I don't need to use it, but it deletes the first part and end of your routes. So Strava could show where you could still map your rides and keep them public, but without it showing where you live. The other thing with Strava is you could also set everything to private, and just like Instagram or Facebook, you don't have to let anyone see it that you don't want to see it. So I also don't understand why anyone would have to delete it. If they want to log their rides, it could just be a personal thing. It doesn't have to be the social aspect unless you want it to be the social aspect. So if you cut off your Johnson. Oh, Rick said he's 2 weeks in on the second. Nice. Like I was saying, I wouldn't have had Micah over here if I wasn't 2 weeks in even on the first dose. He's vaccinated, but they haven't proved that you still can't be a spreader after being vaccinated, but the stats on just one shot of any of the vaccines is 86% effective, and that number means that even if you got it, you're not going to end up in the hospital and stuff. So it's actually the number. Those numbers are misleading. They're way more effective as what us as regular people would consider them versus what the government regulations on what you consider effective are. So. Insert Lebowski reference. Yeah, no, I just can't do a good accent. Obsolence says, yeah, radius. You could set a radius to black out your address. Yeah. Like I said to Rick, so we were talking about this in the Discord. So he says why you should be using riding with GPS. I'm not saying Strava is the best. I really like the social aspect of Strava as well. I like to see what my friends have done. I like to learn new routes from my friends. Like even some of the people we've met through YouTube now, like seeing what Dylan's riding in Columbus is like interesting to me and stuff like that. So I compared it to as being a small business owner who needs to be on Facebook. I hate Facebook. I would give it up in a second if it wasn't where the people are. I wish people had chosen Ello or chosen one of these other things that tried to pop up and protect your privacy. They haven't. So, Instagram and Facebook and these things, if you want to be on social media doesn't work unless other people are there. And I like to log my rides. I like to know my numbers. I like to make routes. Like that kind of stuff is why I like Strava. But I do also like the social aspect of it. So until everyone jumps ships to ride with GPS, I will too. Just like when I didn't want to move from MySpace. I didn't like the idea of everyone seeing everything. But that's how it goes. If you're going to make a joke, you have to spell it right, Rick. Or just... Pudgy's in the clear next Tuesday. Yeah, because you got the one dose, so you will be too. So what it turns out is what the science is showing is with the Pfizer and the Moderna, the second shot is more for longevity than actual effectiveness. Because the Johnson & Johnson was tested when things were way worse, and so the numbers are kind of skewed in that direction. But Brooke prefers Grinder. Pudgy says at this point he would kind of like a stalker. Yeah. That's what I was saying, where I saw Mike on Saturday night. Large Marge came out, Aaron came out, Funny Brad was there. Grind with GPS, sorry. But again, that was like our friend he refinishes old stuff, but he has a good eye for vintage stuff. A lot of it has a local Akron flair and stuff like that. He's just a genius at it. Micah used to own a business with him called Retreads, where they were kind of doing the same kind of thing, getting in old buildings and saving the things. But it was really interesting because there was food, there was more snacky type stuff, and there was beer. But it was kind of like one of these situations. I was photographing it. I was working where you're doing like the... But also I knew that the people in the room were all people who are been careful all winter, who are probably mostly in on one dose of vaccination. But everyone couldn't tear themselves away from each other because none of us had these kind of social interactions of a get-together for so long. And it was the same thing. It was like everyone you talked to, you just wanted to keep talking. So it's like I wanted to hear a little about Micah's trip, but I could never make it over to him because you would just like run into this person and trying to find out what was up with them and how they were doing and your shared experience of isolation and all that stuff. So very interesting. Did I not say retread right? Retread? Yeah. Sean said he has his second shot yesterday. Today has been sucking like he got the flu. I've been hearing that a lot because at first a lot of people were saying like, and it was older people usually because they got them earlier, at least here in Ohio, the way they did it. Like my mom had a little bit of reaction, or my mom didn't have much of a reaction. My dad did. But now that people more our age are getting it, it seems like it's affecting, I'm 42 for the record. But it seems like people that are a little bit younger on the spectrum, early 40s, 30s, the second shot is really seems to be dropping them for a day or two. So, and when I say dropping them, I mean not feeling well, not, dropping them. But Citizen said you haven't got any vax. This whole thing is just weird to you still. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, everything's been weird. But the vaccinations are not like any kind of new technology. They're technology that's been around forever. They've just been modified for a new disease. I mean, they're flu shots, but they're mRNA vaccines. This is not new science. It's not dangerous science. When you give anything, like whether it be ham sandwiches, peanuts will kill way more people if you gave them to everyone on Earth than this vaccine will. Like that's just the way it goes. It's like those people who won't wear a seatbelt because there's 3 people who there's a story they would have died if they had their seatbelt on. Like that's backwards thinking. It's not truth. It's a joke. These vaccines are safe, even though they haven't been approved by the FDA or anything. Like tons of people are getting them. Most people are all right. We're all going to be better off because of them. Like, yes, there are side effects to everything. You know what I mean? This is low risk. We're all cyclists. Getting on your bike is way more dangerous. Filling your car with gas once in a while, something blows up and people die. It's not this is not a risky thing to go and do. And I'm not yelling at you, citizen. I'm just facts. So. Oh, Rusty said his new bike just arrived. Drop a photo if you have a chance. Yeah, it's not too late. Oh yeah, Rusty will drop some pictures on the Discord. Did you get the red one, Rusty? Did you end up getting the new one? Yeah, and Citizen, like I said, I wasn't trying to ramble on about your opinion. It's just you just see so much out there that it just gets to me. It's like, yeah, yeah, that's what Pudgy says. I'm known to go on a rant about it. It's usually something, yeah, something just triggers me, and it's not actually personal at all. Yeah, yeah, I know. We all want to lick doorknobs again. I know. It's that metallic flavor. I just miss so much. Yeah, I forgot that you were trying to. Chuckles is here saying I'm focused for a change. Yeah, Rusty, I remember we were trying to look up Dirty River the one night, but I forgot that you actually were able to score one in the ordering somewhere. But I might have actually missed that in the Discord. Because once in a while, oh, nice. Need to do a unboxing video. Oh, here we go. I've never got a bike. Well, I've gotten used bikes, my vintage bikes in the mail. I've ordered a couple. I don't think I've ever got a brand new bike in the mail, so it's probably a new level of excitement. Even getting a bike in the mail is pretty exciting, but I guess I've only got one, my Schwinn Peloton. But yeah, that's got to be a cool feeling. Yeah. Sean says if you enter a room after him, assume everything has been licked. Nice. What were you? Oh, this is the sleep aid. So that Pudgy was showing when we were talking to Micah, I believe. So L-tryptophan capsules, 1,500. I've tried. I actually don't sleep well, but I don't like the idea of having to be hooked on a sleep aid my whole life. But yeah, for something like this, I could see trying something like melatonin or, something like the tryptophan. I could totally understand that. But yeah, I haven't. I have melatonin here. Otis gave me something that he was given, and we were talking about how I don't sleep that well, and he was like, man, that thing just totally he said he had crazy dreams and it like messed with him a little bit, and I tried it once and I had the same thing and I didn't like it. But yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I haven't found anything narcotic. More has, I just am so groggy in the morning. It's like, it defeats the purpose because then I can't get up and get moving. So I don't feel better in the morning. So yeah, Rick, I missed this. Rick said on the shot that he's 59 and didn't feel anything on the second, which makes sense from what I've heard. So Citizen, what if your wife was in the room? Well, I think I'm going to wrap up. It's almost 11:30. Oh, that's interesting, JMZ. You said CBD helps you sleep. And I don't know if you guys saw that a ton of CBD just walked through the door the other day. And I was actually thinking of asking the guy if people use that as a sleep aid, because he's a startup. They started this huge CBD farm. They're 10 acres. I mean, that's not huge by farming standards, but by vegetable farming or something like this, that's pretty large. And so, yeah, so there's tons of CBD in the studio right now. And this is unprocessed. This is giant buds of CBD. It smells like me and Susan, the other photographer, when we've been in here and we've had portraits this week. Like, I have it in the basement double wrapped, and then we still have to spray Febreze everywhere. It smells like weed in here like crazy in the studio right now. It's very strong. So I was going to ask the guy about that. And since he said their whole goal is to do processed stuff, the balms, the edibles, the lotions. Right now, they're actually they're licensed by the state of Ohio. They're only doing the stuff that people smoke. And I didn't know people smoked CBD, but I was going to ask him about, like, since he doesn't have a lot of money for the startup, for the photography, if it does work for sleep, if he would trade. And since some of you guys are saying it does work, I think that would be totally worth asking. Chamomile, chamomile tea has helped. When I'm sick, I use that a lot, and I know I'm going to have trouble sleeping. It has an effect. It definitely relaxes me. I'm a busy mind kind of person, so yeah. I was trying to read so Pudgy said melatonin throws off your natural production, whereas you don't produce tryptophan, so it doesn't cause issues. That makes sense. Yeah, because melatonin is what your body's supposed to start producing at dark and the end of the day anyways, right? So if you use melatonin, your body's going to cut back on melatonin production. So speaking of sleep, we're talking about sleep. I'm going to give sleep a chance. But thanks everyone for joining. We had a blast. This was at this has been the most number of viewers over an extended period of time too. So I think because, people wanted to hear Micah stories, and a couple people came in just to hear that. So Thursday, I don't really have a plan yet. This is kind of what I was focused on. I'm really busy right now. I've got a bunch of stuff that has walked into the studio. Some were actually bike wheels, so maybe I will show some of those on Thursday, some carbon rims I got to shoot, which is right up my alley. So to do studio product shots of bike rims was really cool, and some wheel builds. And I think I've shown them before, but that was a long time ago, so I will plug the guy's business who had those. Yeah, so there'll be stuff to do, but yeah, I have I'm just busy because a bunch has come in the studio. I have some video production to do, trying to keep up on the YouTube channel, and now tax. I haven't done my taxes. I usually keep up on that, so I have to get to that. And so also on the front of everyone knows about the meetup. The plan with me and the meetup and to update that information is going to be after tax day. So we'll be getting closer. Then we could talk about if we want like a souvenir from the ride, who's actually coming, all that kind of stuff. We'll get into it, but I'm going to leave it at that for right now, and I will see you guys on Thursday.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Cause
Yeah.
this time.
Fitzwater photo.